Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving deep into one of history's most chilling and legendary tales, the Curse of the Pharaohs. Specifically, we're talking about the famous curse of King Tutankhamun's tomb. Was it a genuine supernatural force protecting the boy king's eternal rest? Or just a series of bizarre coincidences blown out of proportion by a media frenzy? Let's find out. Our story begins in 1922. After years of relentless searching in Egypt's Valley of the Kings, British archaeologist Howard Carter and his sponsor, Lord Carnarvon, made a discovery that would stun the world. They found it, the nearly intact tomb of Tutankhamun, a pharaoh who had rested undisturbed for over 3,000 years. The entrance was sealed, and the sense of anticipation was electrifying. On November 26th, Carter made a tiny breach in the doorway. Lord Carnarvon anxiously asked, "Can you see anything?" Carter's reply became legendary. "Yes, wonderful things." Inside, they found treasures beyond imagination: golden shrines, intricate furniture, chariots, and of course, the iconic golden burial mask. It was the archaeological find of the century. But as the world celebrated, a dark shadow began to creep into the story. The legend of a curse, supposedly inscribed at the tomb's entrance, started to spread like wildfire. The most famous version of this inscription supposedly read, "Death shall come on swift wings to him who disturbs the peace of the king." Here's the twist though. No definitive evidence of this exact inscription has ever been found on Tutankhamun's tomb. While other tombs contain protective texts, this specific menacing phrase seems to be more a product of journalistic sensationalism than ancient Egyptian reality. The media at the time was captivated by the discovery, and a curse made for a much better headline than just "archaeologists find old stuff." They were selling newspapers, and fear sells well. The story of the curse truly took off just a few months after the tomb was opened. In April 1923, Lord Carnarvon, the financial backer of the expedition, died suddenly in Cairo. The cause was blood poisoning from an infected mosquito bite on his cheek. Eerily, the bite was in the same spot where King Tut's death mask had a small blemish. As if that wasn't strange enough, at the exact moment of his death, all the lights in Cairo inexplicably went out. Back in England, Carnarvon's dog Susie reportedly howled and died at the same time. Coincidence? Or the curse's first victim? The public was convinced it was the latter. The media ran with it, and soon a list of victims began to grow. George J. Gould, a wealthy American financier who visited the tomb, died a few months later from a fever. Prince Ali Kamel Fahmy Bey of Egypt was shot and killed by his wife shortly after a visit. Sir Archibald Douglas Reed, a radiologist who x-rayed the mummy, died from a mysterious illness. And Howard Carter's personal secretary, Richard Bethel, was found dead in his bed, believed to be a smothering. The list seems long and damning, doesn't it? Each death was reported as another proof of the pharaoh's wrath. But let's take a step back and look at this with a more skeptical, scientific eye. When you examine the facts, the curse starts to unravel. First, let's consider the number of people involved. There were 58 people present when the tomb and sarcophagus were opened. Over the next decade, how many of them died? Only 8. Does that sound like a powerful, inescapable curse? If anything, it sounds like a pretty low mortality rate, especially considering the general life expectancy and medical standards of the 1920s. Let's look at the main man himself, Howard Carter. He was the one who first breached the tomb, who spent a decade cataloging every single item, and who was most exposed to whatever curse might have been lurking inside. If the pharaoh's magic was real, surely Carter would be the #1 target. Yet, he lived for another 17 years, dying of natural causes at the age of 64. That's not a very effective curse. Lady Evelyn Herbert, Lord Carnarvon's daughter, was one of the first people to enter the burial chamber with Carter. She lived to be 78 years old. So what about the deaths that did happen? Can they be explained rationally? Absolutely. Lord Carnarvon was in poor health long before he went to Egypt. His death, while tragically timed, is medically explainable. The power outage in Cairo? A common occurrence in the 1920s. The dog's death? A sad coincidence, but one that is impossible to medically link to events happening thousands of miles away. The other victims also have logical explanations. Many were elderly or had pre-existing conditions. Visiting Egypt in the early 20th century carried its own risks, from disease to unfamiliar climates. It's a classic case of confirmation bias. When you're looking for a pattern, you tend to ignore the evidence that doesn't fit. People focused on the handful of deaths and ignored the dozens of people who were perfectly fine. However, there is one scientific theory that offers a plausible, non-supernatural explanation for some of the illnesses. Tombs that have been sealed for thousands of years can harbor dangerous, dormant pathogens. When the tomb was opened, ancient mold spores, fungi, or bacteria could have been released into the air. Certain types of mold, like Aspergillus, can cause severe respiratory infections, especially in people with weakened immune systems. It's possible that Lord Carnarvon, already in frail health, inhaled these spores, and the mosquito bite simply weakened his system enough for the infection to take hold. This tomb toxin theory could explain some of the illnesses reported by those who entered. It's not a pharaoh's curse, but the unseen danger of microbiology. It's science, not magic. So, what's the final verdict? The Curse of King Tutankhamun is a fantastic story, a perfect blend of ancient mystery, sudden death, and media hype. It captured the public imagination in the 1920s and continues to fascinate us today. It speaks to our deep-seated fear of disturbing the dead and our love for a good supernatural tale. But when we look at the evidence, the magical curse fades away, replaced by a much more human story, a story of coincidence, confirmation bias, sensationalist journalism, and perhaps some ancient, microscopic organisms. The greatest treasure that Howard Carter discovered wasn't just the gold. It was a story that has lasted for a century. The true legacy of King Tut isn't a curse, but an enduring fascination with the incredible world of ancient Egypt. What do you think? Was it a real curse, or just a series of unfortunate events? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your theories. Thanks so much for watching today. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another historical deep dive. See you next time.